If you've ever wondered how to grow your business or be a better networking marketer, I've had the conversation for you. You need to listen to my story, my time spent with my dear friend, Steve Beecham, or Beach, as his friends affectionately call him. We met a couple of years ago as he was a keynote speaker at a conference that I was at a meeting. And Beach has a fantastic business. He has a great mind for ways to connect and to be a networker, just to naturally network and grow your business. So I don't want to give anything else away. Here's my friend Beach. Welcome to Market Mavericks. I'm Matthew Eford. Join me as I speak with leaders who are redefining industries in every corner of the market. From startups to established businesses, we'll uncover the strategies, challenges, and insights that drive success. Get ready to be inspired by the Mavericks who are shaping the future of business. Welcome, everybody, to Market Mavericks. I have my friend here, Steve Beecham. Beach is in the Alpharetta area. He and I met through our mastermind group, the Institute for Entrepreneurship, founded by Chris Hanks. He was a speaker there. And I really, as we were starting the podcast, he had somebody on my list to reach out to because of his his information around referral marketing and networking. So, Beach, if you're just give us an overview of who you are, what you do, and then we'll get into some of the referral networking.
Well, I'm in the mortgage business for 30-something years. I've got a little boutique mortgage company. It's my son and I. We've got one other lady that works with us, and then we've got a couple assistants. So we've, it's 5 or 6 of us, and we just kind of, do our thing. It's all referral based. We do a lot of video, social media type marketing, mainly because when my son came in, that was kind of, the youngster generation's more into that. But anyway, so we're doing that, and I was doing the business around 2009. We had a big crash, as some of you may know. And so we lost about, like 90% of the people that were doing mortgages like me. I'm a mortgage broker, which means I, send it out to different banks to look at and get the best deal for my customer. But 2009, I decided to write a book. I had gone to a conference and I had kind of written up a sort of a white paper on how I was going to train my employees. At that time, I had 30-something employees, one of the second or third largest mortgage brokerage in town before the crash. And they were like, man, that's good stuff. You need to write a book. So during the crash, I had time. I wrote a book that kind of put me in the speaking business.
Okay.
So as my daughter says, that's my side hustle. So I'm in the mortgage business about 75, 80%, and I'm speaking 10 to 15%. And since then, I've written 3 more books. So I've got 4 books that I've written, and all of it is based upon basically the way I like to explain it is how do you become the go-to person in your community for what it is you do?
I love that.
That's kind of the basis of what I'm trying to help people with.
Okay. So you make what most people will call a pivot, right? You make a pivot in your business after the crash of 08, 09, and talk to us a little bit about as that book was formulated, as you started coming out outside of the speaking realm. I want to get into that definitely before our conversation is over. But in terms of a business owner looking to grow their business, what kind of advice, what's that white paper? Give us a little bit more details about that.
So the first piece I like to say is I can't spend money with you if I don't know you exist.
Okay.
And so you have to think about, who do I exist with? It's the same as like if you put something on Facebook or Instagram, only the people that know about you are going to see it. So there's this whole world out there. I like to tell people I'm the guy in my town that knows a lot of people. And one day I went down to the red light and I said, I'm going to stand here till I see somebody that I know come by. And this is like, 7:30 traffic in the morning. And I stood there for a pretty long time. And I went, you know what? There's 70,000 people that live in Alpharetta, and I maybe know 5 or 10,000 of them, but there's a whole lot of people that don't even know I exist.
Sure.
So my number one job as a business is to prove to people or to let people know that I'm here. Doesn't mean I have to close the deal. Just they need to know that I'm around. And so there are 1,000 different ways you can do that. And then the second part of it is that when I do run into people out in the community, I need to be really good at painting them a picture of what it is I'm looking for. So if I
Nice.
just run into you and you say, how's it going? I'm going, it's great. You know, if you know anybody wants to buy a house, needs a mortgage, call me. Well, that just kind of goes in one ear and out the other. So how can I do a better job of getting you to help me meet the people I need to meet? So I might say, hey, Matthew, you know, who's your favorite real estate agent? Who did you use when you closed your loan? You go, oh, I use Sally. She's my wife's friend. And I'm like, is she cool? Is she fun? You go, yeah, oh, yeah, she's awesome. And then I say, man, I'd love to meet her. And then now I've put myself in a position to get a warm referral, right?
Sure.
Or you might say, you know what, Beach, I don't know any agents. I hadn't bought a house yet. And I said, well, if you run into anybody that works for Keller Williams or Sotheby's or Harry Norman, so those are pictures. Sotheby's, Harry Norman, Remax, Century 21, those are pictures. An agent is not a picture. So if you're explaining to somebody like, you know, I'm selling lighting, you can't just say, well, if nobody needs any outdoor lighting, that's just not a good enough picture.
Sure.
You know, you might say, hey, you ever been to somebody's house and they got those little strings of lights hanging up, you know, over their back porch or around the fireplace? That's what we do. So if you know anybody needs something like that, man, tell them about me. I'd love to meet.
I love that. Yeah.
That's
One of the
two main things.
I love that. So talk to us about the first one, getting to know people. What piece of advice would you have around getting to know people in your community?
So the first thing I would do is I would go on to Facebook and I would kidnap friends.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is, like when I first got on Facebook, let's say I've got 150 friends and I'm like, okay, I'm going to start putting some stuff on Facebook. So how do I get more people, more eyes? I found out you can have up to 5,000 friends on your personal Facebook page.
Okay.
So what I did is I said, who are the people in the community that know a lot of people? Who are those folks? It might be the mayor. It might be a business person that a lot of people know about. I went to their pages and went through their friends list and started asking their friends to be my friend.
Cool.
And next thing you knew, I had 5,000 people. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is to do something like maybe logo your car. A lot of people don't logo their car. And I had a guy that taught me about that early on. He was a guy that had done a lot of race cars. He did Bill Elliott's first Coors Melling race car, number 9. You know, he was a local guy and he was a sign guy, but he got into doing a lot of race cars. And he was a guy that convinced me, he's like, don't get fancy. Yeah. When somebody sees your car, what do you want them to think? And I said, mortgage. He said, so mortgage has got to be the most prominent thing. And then the name of your company or your phone number or your website, all of that's minor. But if they see that car and they think mortgage, then that's what you're after.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
People are kind of scared to really do that right, or they put too much stuff on it and it doesn't make you think about it.
Sure. That's great advice. I mean, I don't want to cut you off. Keep going, man. Whatever else, this is awesome.
Another thing is you take things that you like and you spend a lot of time doing that. And what happens is that it gives you, the problem is you need an excuse to go call on somebody. So I'll give you a great example. So one night, my wife and I were sitting up in downtown Alpharetta, the town. We had just built a new town center. It was nice. It was awesome. It was Friday night. It's 9:00. We're sitting on the park bench. We're having a cocktail, and I'm looking around, and all the restaurants are putting chairs up on the tables. They're closing up. And I said, God, can you believe we got this great town and nobody's out here? I mean, nobody's gone home. All the 60-year-olds like me have gone home, you know? Yeah. So what can we do? She said, well, if we had some music or something, or just a reason to stay a little bit longer, like, what if you could come out of dinner and there was something going on in the park and it attracted you to the park? Maybe you were from Roswell or Woodstock and you came to Alpharetta for a restaurant. So anyway, I said, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring music to downtown Alpharetta. So I went to the city. Sorry, I got something in my, I went to the city and I said, I want to do some bands. And I thought, I want to do a band. I don't want to put just a solo guy up there. I want to make it look like there's a party going on. Anyway, long story short, city told me I couldn't do it. I went to a local restaurant and I said, hey, what if we put the band on your property. We'll face it out towards the green space that's a park. And then people can sit in the park and they can't stop us. So that's what we did. Next thing you know, 4 years later, we got 500 people showing up twice a month, but the city doesn't give me any money. So these bands cost me about $4,500 for the band, for the stage, for the sound, for the lights. So I had to tap into local businesses to interest them into helping me market this. And so what I came up with is a big screen, a big LED screen that I put up behind the band. So now I call on all the local businesses and say, hey, will you run an ad? It's $100 for a concert. You're going to have 500 people. I'm going to have 10 concerts. It's $1,000 for the season, or $100 a concert. And so now I have a reason to walk into a restaurant, to a ladies' clothing store, to a coffee shop and say, hey, I'm Steve Beecham. I'm with Hometown Mortgage. I'm doing this. I'd like to know if you'd like to be a part of it. Some of them say yes. Some of them say no. In the meantime, I'm learning who they are. I'm writing information about them, keeping that in my phone so that I've got data on them. So if another customer or friend says, hey, I need to buy a pair of shoes, I say, call Sally over here at the shoe store. She's great, blah, blah, blah. I tell her Beach sent you. But because of that, you have an excuse to walk into people because I'm doing something that's good for the community, good for the local businesses. Long story short, this year, it cost us $45,000 to do the 10 concerts, and we raised $60-something thousand. Wow. I gave that money to the Rotary Club. Then at the Rotary Club, we were looking for a project, and one of the projects that I thought about was the local American Legion Hall needs some remodeling. So we decided to take that money and give it to the local American Legion. So now I've met all the guys on the board at the American Legion. So you see what I'm saying? All of that introduces me to new people that I didn't know before.
Yeah. And what I love about that so much, Beach, is you came in and you didn't say to any one of those people, hey, let me sell you a mortgage.
Yeah, 100%.
You came in and you added value to them, and you're developing the relationship, which is, for Lighting Pros, right? We were the 10th fastest growing company founded by UJ alumni. We based a lot of the initial part and continued growth of that business based off referrals. And it was, how can I add value to you? What can I do? Yes, I do lighting. Yes, I'd be honored to help you. But what can I do to help you and get to know you better? Because as you get to know me better, you're much more likely to refer me business or do business with me.
So let's talk about that, because that's something that I've studied deeply. And what I found and what I've read is, let's just say that I do my job. In other words, you and I go to a restaurant, and if the waitress does her job, then we're going to give her the expected tip. Sure. If your business does its job, then you're only going to get about 10% referral from that. Okay. So you're only going to grow 10% a year based on that particular referral. But if you wow them in some way, then reciprocity kicks in and the amount of referrals double. Now, all of a sudden, 25% of the people go, wow, this guy wowed me. I've got to go tell people about that, right? Yeah. So how do you get to the wow? And the wow creates reciprocity, and that's what you want. A referral is reciprocity. So how do you create more wows? And the way you create more wows is that you got to do something that goes back into the vein of the depth of the person that you're dealing with. So my example would be, you're doing lighting for somebody, but you took the time to have a conversation with them to find out that their son is looking for a job with an electrical contractor because he just graduated from tech. And then you say, well, let me help him with that. Let me call my people I know in the electrical business to see who's hired. And you spend a little time helping her with a pain that she has. Now she's blown away. Yeah. Now she's going to tell everybody what a great guy you are. And that's what we don't do. We think that we're going to woo people and get a bunch of referrals by doing a good job. But a good job is only going to get you okay referrals. So the key is to wow every customer And when I say their vein in something that's painful to them, they might not need another while in the electrical or mortgage business. They might have some pain in something totally else that you might could help them with, but we never explored that with them while we were with them. So we don't know about it.
Yeah.
But if you do, it's awesome.
Yeah. No, I love that. And then so let's get into the second part of what you're talking about, the stories we're telling people to talk about us. Right. It's the old adage we tell our team, if you ask for, hey, if you see a truck, tell me about it. You see trucks every day when you drive. But if I say, hey, I want you to count the number of yellow trucks that you see, then it stands out so much more. So being specific. Yeah. So what advice around that when we're looking to grow our network, we're looking to get referrals, give us a little bit more information around being specific. How does a business owner get into their business and find out specifically what's going to help them as a referral?
Well, the easy answer is to tell the person in front of you a story about a successful client.
Okay.
Okay. So you can, hey Matthew, how you doing? Finance, live business, fine. Beach house, mortgage business. Man, it's great. I'm feeling really good today. There was this lady that I met in the park. I just started talking to her. She looked lost. We had this conversation. This is a true story, by the way. And she asked me what I did. I told her I was in the mortgage business. And I said, do you own a house? And said, see, that's moving in that direction.
Sure.
She said, no, I don't. I want to buy a house someday. I said, when you get ready to buy a house, you call me. I'm right down here, third house on the right. She walks into my office last week and says, I want to buy a house. I don't know how I'm going to buy a house. I don't know if you can help me buy a house, but I want to buy a house. And I said, okay, I'm going to give you my time and attention. And so what we're doing now is we're going through the process. I found this program that's called a down payment assistance program where they'll give her a second mortgage for her down payment.
Okay.
And she doesn't have to pay it back till she sells the house.
Wow. Okay.
And that's the number one barrier of entry for people to get to buy a house. The number one barrier is they don't have the down payment money. Well, this is a way to get around that.
Sure.
And so Matt, if you're running into your buddies and you're talking to them or some of the guys that work for you and they're having they're like, man, I'd love to buy a house, but I don't have any money. There's a possibility that we could work around that.
I definitely have some folks to refer to you.
See what I'm saying? So that's a story that told a piece. Or I could tell you, so here's what I developed. I've developed in my mind that I have 5 types of customers.
Okay.
I have first-time home buyer, second-time home buyer. I got a person building their castle, their biggest, baddest house, their dream home. I got a move down home buyer. They're like 70 and they're going, they're moving down to like a little condo or something. And then I've got somebody buying an investment property, which could be like a beach house or mountain house or a rental property. Those are my 5 main customers.
Okay.
So when I'm talking to somebody, I've tried in my mind, I immediately put them in one of those 5 categories. So like I'm at my mom's house or I go over there and drop something off. Her and a bunch of 80-year-old ladies are playing cards. And they say, one of them says, Steve, how's the mortgage business? I've been out of real estate for a while, so I don't really keep up with it because she was a real estate agent. I said, Miss Sally, I said, it's okay. It's not great. But you know what? When you run into some of your friends in your Sunday school class or, out on the street and they're trying to sell their house and they want to move into something smaller or whatever, I said, tell them to call me. I know some ladies that'll help them sell their furniture and downsize and pack. And
sure.
So I painted her a picture in the world in which she lives and is most likely to see somebody that would be a referral for me.
I love that. Yeah, I know when we were early in business, right, I would go and I would hand somebody a business card and be like, they're just going to call me. They see my great logo. They see my name on there. They see, Christmas lights, outdoor lighting, or my other business, Mosquito Joe. They see Mosquito like, oh, yeah, they're just going to call me. No, but it's the picture that you're painting. And I love that you're saying that to be able to paint and articulate, this is exactly what I'm looking for. Because, again, it gets back to the yellow truck. That way they're much more in tune with what to find, and it's an easy fit. Because then when she's at Sunday school, the lady sitting next to her is talking about, we got to downsize. I got a guy you got to talk to. Instead of her thinking, well, that's sad. I'm sorry you got to downsize. Or that's great. You're going to have less headache downsizing. Now you painted her the picture. This is a perfect customer for me because she's going to have to get a new mortgage. She's going to have to go through a lot of things she doesn't think about, like selling furniture, moving. You are now, Beach, you're the guy. You're the guy that she can send them to, that you're going to take care of them.
And, we already do that with things, because you'll say to your friends, hey, man, I need a good fishing hole. Or, hey,
Yeah.
do you know anybody that's got some deer lease and they're looking for more members? Do you know anybody that's got a book club that I could join? I love reading books. So we automatically, put that out to our friends and family. And all I'm saying is do that with everybody you meet.
Yeah.
Because that's the best way to find something, right?
I love that. Yeah, that's so good. So talk to us. We're in the political campaign, right? I mean, this is going to come out in a few weeks. It will come out after the election. But I've heard you reference many times networking within the political atmosphere. Give us some advice as a business owner.
I got a ticket. Because I've got too many political signs in my yard. I got to call the city.
Oh, love that.
The signs are too large.
There you go. Okay. So talk to us about what I
realized. I realized I had a friend of mine that he called me one day. He said, hey, we were starting a new town called Milton, which a lot of people know now.
Yeah.
We're starting Milton and there was a committee to form the new town of Milton. And there was one particular guy that everybody just said, he's going to be the mayor. He was kind of handpicked. And a buddy of mine called me, he goes, I think I want to run for mayor. And I said, really? And he was like, I just couldn't believe it. I was like, yeah, but he was a great guy. And I said, okay. He said, will you help me? And I said, heck yeah, I'll help you. And so what we did was I said, here's what I'm going to do. We're going to get in a car and we're going to drive around, and a couple of Saturdays or Sunday afternoons, I'm going to drive you around, or in the evenings, and we're going to go to people's houses that I know that you don't know. And I'm going to introduce you to those people. Cool. And then when we get introduced to those people, we're going to ask them if they say, hey, yeah, I'll vote for you or whatever. We're going to ask them if they'll throw a party for you, so that they invite their friends and neighbors so that you can meet more people. And so we started doing that. So he had a group of people that he knew because of his kids. And I had a group of people I knew because of my kids. And we tried to find the people that he didn't already know. And so, we went around, and within 2 or 3 Saturdays, I probably introduced him 50, 75 people that he didn't know.
Sure.
Of that, 4 or 5 decided to have a party. Then we go to the party, and while we're at the party, they're introducing him to all their friends. He gets up, does his little speech on what he was going to do, why he wants to be the mayor. And then I told him, I said, we got to start databasing all these people. So we started databasing all these people. Now you got people to market to. Long story short, what I realized is that then got me involved with another person that was running for Senate or State House. And they already they had already been elected. So they were rerunning.
Okay.
And I went to these parties, and I noticed that if you're a politician, you need votes, but you need money. So if I decide I'm going to run for mayor, the first thing I got to do is call the influential people and call the people that write checks, because I got to get money in to build signs, do marketing and stuff. So all of a sudden, at the end of the day, if you're running for office, you need to know the people that got money, and you need to know the influencers. Well, by golly, those are the same people I want to know.
Yeah,
right?
That's a great point. Yeah.
So if those people they got money are having parties in their big houses, inviting all their rich friends, and I go and I'm a friend of the candidates going to introduce me. The guy that's having the party knows that I'm a friend of the candidate. He introduces me. I'll leave a party with 20 or 30 new friends, and they all got money.
Love it.
I'm like, that's a great pool. And then what happens is, let's say you have a problem or you have an issue in your industry. Now, because you helped that politician, by introducing him to friends or having a little party at your house, now when you've got a problem, you call that politician. Well, they're going to go to work for you, man, because they know you're on their team. You supported them. They're going to support you.
Yeah.
Reciprocity.
Yeah. It's just when the first time I heard you talk about it, I was like, it is brilliant. And most people try to avoid politics like the plague, right? But small town politics, it drives a lot of the local industry that it is extremely influential as a local business owner. You should be involved in your local politics. It will impact your business. If you don't believe it, just give it time. It will impact your business. But on
100%.
the counterpart of that is what you're saying, right? It's just another network for you to be involved in, that you're not having to go wear your mortgage shirt and say, call me, I do mortgages. No, you're providing value to someone who needs value, and their value is, I need connections. You raise your hand, I got connections. I can connect you. But you're just leveraging out the connections, because every party you go to is exactly what you said. You're coming away with 20, 30 new connections, which then also those people have 20 or 30 connections they're connect you with, right? And it's just the trickle down effect of where that grows. I love that you're being intentional with that. Is there any other piece of advice that you would have and then we can kind of wrap up the conversation around the network referral? Do you see mistakes that people make in this type of connections that they're trying to get referrals?
I Yeah, I think the biggest mistake is you get out there and you want to meet a bunch of people and hand out a bunch of cards, and really what you got to do is this man-to-man coverage. You got to knock them off one at a time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really that simple. So I'll give you an example. So this guy calls me one day and says, "Hey, my two friends said I need to meet you. I'm trying to start a certain type of business, and they said, everybody in town." That's my buzz,
Yeah.
So he comes in, I sits down and we talk, and I pour into this guy. I'm trying to figure out every way I can to help him. So that's my main philosophy. That's my purpose in life, to help other people get from where they are to where they want to go. So that's the lens I'm looking at everything. So I'm looking at this guy and I'm like, he's sitting here and he's trying to get over here, and I'm going to help him best I can. Well, then what happens at the end of the conversation, reciprocity kicks in, and reciprocity is he says, "How can I help you?" And then I say, "Well, if you know anybody that's a real estate agent, like what subdivision you live in?" I live in XYZ. He's like, "Man, we've got 4 or 5 agents in my subdivision." I said, "Man, I would love to meet them. And anytime you're out and about and you run into a real estate agent, I want to know that person."
Yeah.
Well, I have met 5 agents in the last 30 days because of this particular guy.
Love it.
He's introduced me to 5 different agents. And so that's my point. That's man to man, just me helping him get where he needs to go. And you never know where that spider web's going to, span out from. And of course, everybody you help or everybody you pour in doesn't necessarily do that. But if you really rock somebody's world, it's a lot more fun to help somebody get somewhere.
Yeah.
And there's a better chance that they're going to tell other people about you. So it's really man to man.
I love that. And I love that you're looking at it through the lens of your purpose in life is help people get to where they are, where they want to be. And I love that you're a purpose-driven person. I connected with that when you spoke at the Institute a couple of years ago. And so I love that that's the lens, that's the buzz that you kind of created about helping other people. You're the unofficial mayor of Alpharetta, right? I mean, you're there, you're connected, and you're trying to help people. But you never know who's the one that's going to make that, what we like to call is a game-changing connection, right? The one person that you could have thought, this guy can't help me at all. I mean, maybe he can help me some, but young guy, whatever it is. And then it's just boom, he's the one that starts putting you in touch with this one and this one and this one and this one. You're like, oh wow, this was this guy. I wish I would have met him 5 years ago. So you never know. Talk to us about, we've talked about a lot of the wins in the referral game, but just in business in general. We love to learn from other people's mistakes around here. What's a mistake you've made? What's something you learned from it? It could be specifically with referral marketing, or it could be within the mortgage business.
I've learned that every group that you join is worth a deal a month in the mortgage business.
Okay.
So what happened is one day I said, how are people getting their business, right? So I call you and you say, I get referral business. Okay, well, how did you get the person that before that or whatever? I mean, it just didn't make sense to me. And I started dealing down And so mostly my world is real estate agents. So I'll call a real estate agent. Where you get most of your business? Well, I just get referrals. Well, what are you involved with? Well, I'm real involved with my church. I'm real involved with my kids' sports or whatever my kids are doing. I'm a piano teacher on the side. So what I found was that people were getting their business based on where they spend their time.
Sure.
And so I said, I'm going to start going deeper on that. And so I found this, I was hunting with this one buddy of mine. It's a insurance agent, and he's really well known and has a fantastic business, and it's all referral. And he's a sort of a mentor of mine. And I'm like, and I asked him, and he hadn't ever thought about this. I said, like, what are you involved with? He said, well, I'm involved with my, I sit on the board, or somehow I'm involved in my fraternity where I went to school. I sit on the board at the college where I went. My fraternity brother was a former governor, and I sit on another board for the state. I teach a Sunday school class. I'm a deacon at my church. There was one other thing he did. So there's like 6 or 7 things that were like significant. Oh, I'm in the Rotary Club.
Okay.
I'm real involved in my Rotary Club, blah, blah, blah. And so I said, okay, he's involved in 7 things, and I'm involved in 2 or 3 things. I'm doing pretty good, but he's doing twice as good. What happens if I join more organizations?
Sure.
And so the key is, if you join more organizations where you spend time, in other words, if you go to church every Sunday, after a period of time, you start developing deep relationships, right?
Sure.
You go to the Chamber of Commerce twice a month. After a while, you build deep relationships. If you go to a book club every month, or go play cards, or whatever you do, or you go to the ball field twice a week because you got practice and a game on Saturday, after a while, you build relationships. And so what I found is that most people are only involved in 1, maybe 2 things. So when my son came in the business, I said, you got to get involved in as much as you can. Don't worry, because if you're a salesperson, you're supposed to prospect. And then when you get that deal, we'll do the deal, but then go back to prospecting. 90% of your time is prospecting. So if you're at a Rotary meeting, you're at a chamber meeting, you're at a book club, you're at a Bible study, all of that can be viewed as prospecting.
Sure.
So stay in as many organizations as you can that allow you to develop relationships. And so I had kind of gotten away from that, because when I started speaking a lot, I said, I need to not do local organizations. I need to start trying to figure out how I can be known more nationally, so I can get speaking gigs. So I gave up some of my local stuff, and I noticed my mortgage business retracted a little bit.
Okay.
So now I'm going back saying, okay, I got to get back into more things. And now that I'm starting to see my mortgage business grow again. So I tell people, if you want to grow your business, you want to get 1 more deal a month or 1 more deal a week, depends on your business.
Sure.
Join another organization. Make that a habit by going, okay, every Friday I go to Rotary Club. That's just what I do on Friday morning between 7:30 and 8:30, and I don't plan anything to mess with that. Once that becomes a habit, okay, I'm going to go to the Alpharetta Business Alliance, the second Tuesday of every month. I'm not going to plan anything. I'm going to go do that. Okay, I'm going to go to Chamber of Commerce. Okay, I'm going to go over here to this Bible study, or I'm going to go to church every Sunday, whatever. Those things all bring you business.
I love that. I love that. And one thing that you said that I would just make sure to highlight, it's the consistency of being there. That those relationships, they go deeper, and that you're able to leverage their network as the relationship goes deeper. That, I've been a part of referral networking groups. I was part of BNI. It was a real popular one for a long time when we started on Mosquito Joe, and it's in the early days of our Lighting Pros. The thing that I saw the most, where people made the most mistakes, is they would come to one meeting and they would feel like, I'm going to get 1,000 referrals. No, you just showing up one time means nothing. Showing up twice means nothing. Yes, you get to make some of those connections, but it's showing up day after day, week after week, month after month, being a consistent person. They know, I can trust Beach. Beach just shows up. He's already made 3 connections for me. The reciprocity's there, but now I've gotten to know Beach a little bit more, and I know I can trust him. So while I may have been holding on to a referral because I was, a little hesitant, because right when somebody refers you, they're referring part of their reputation. So if I
Right.
refer you to someone, that if I refer you to my dad doesn't know you. He knows me. And if you mess up a deal with my dad, that comes back on me. It doesn't come back on you. He doesn't know you, but he knows me. And so the reciprocity, the relationship there is hurt between me and my dad. And so
Right.
I don't want to do that, right? So
Right.
there's definitely a give and take of, I want to build some relationship. I want to build some rapport, that it's easier to refer somebody that you have rapport to. Um, but I love that, just be involved in the community, be involved in different groups.
It's the
I love
number
that piece.
one thing. It's if if you're not out there, then people can't get to know you, and if you can't build relationships with people, then they're not going to refer you. It's just
Yeah,
that simple.
yeah, I love that. So talk to me about the speaking. You've referenced it a couple of times, and I've had opportunity to speak, and I want to grow as a speaker and a communicator. It's one of the reasons why I'm doing this podcast. Talk to us about, for myself selfishly, but also for anybody else who's listening who wants to get into speaking. What was that pathway like? What advice would you have? What mistakes have you made? Let's kind of start from the beginning. How did you get into speaking? Where all is that taking you so far?
Well, first of all, what I found, after I don't know what is it now, 10 or 15 years, is it's a business and you have to work that business. If you just gonna sit around and think people are gonna call you because you're wonderful, you're
Yeah,
fooling yourself. I mean,
sure.
there are some people that have that luck, but the majority of people that speak are working that business. And so for me, what happened was I wrote that book um just because some people had convinced me that there was some stuff in there, some stuff that I was talking about that was, I don't know, in my mind, sort of new information on how to look at, building your business. And I had been in a lot of other businesses up to that point, and I'd read a lot about, I wanted to grow my business, and I wanted it to be a referral business, right? So when I wrote the book, I hired a guy to write it. He was going to charge me a whole bunch of money, and I thought I was going to be New York Times bestseller, blah blah blah. And everybody starts off that way. And some people, I ran into a guy, and he said, "Beach," he said, "This is what you're going to learn in life: is that you have a list.
Okay,
You don't know you have a list, but you have a list. The list is all the people that know you, and you know them, whatever that amount of people is." You write a book, your list will buy, 5% of your list will buy your book. And so if I'm a book guy, I'm going to want to know how big, if I'm a publisher, I want to know how big your list is. So if you
sure,
know 5,000 people, then I'm only going to sell a couple hundred books. I'm not really interested in helping you write a book. But if you're Barack Obama
sure,
and everybody knows you, and we know that your list is pretty good, I'm willing to give you, a couple $1,000,000 to write a book because I know I'm gonna get my money back.
sure,
And he said the weird thing is that you keep going back to your list. So like, let's say I want to do a seminar or something, and I go and I put it out and I do this seminar and 100 people show up. And then I go back 6 months later and I want to do the seminar, and I go back to my same list. Well, only 50 are going to show up this time.
yeah,
And then I do it again and only 25. So I got to keep growing my list in order to grow my audience. And that's why it's so tough for people to do these events. That's why you got to continue to bring in new speakers to touch the vein with different folks. But anyway, so I wrote the book. Nobody called me to come speak. So being in the Rotary Club, I know that there are a lot of Rotary clubs. There's one in every little town in the world.
sure,
And a lot of those little Rotary clubs, they have to have a speaker every week, and they really, really struggle with getting a speaker. I mean, if you're the Atlanta Rotary Club and you got 500 people and all the CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, you're not having a problem getting speakers. But if you're the Fayetteville, Georgia Rotary Club and you got 25 members, you're dying for somebody to come in and speak that's got some substance. So what I
yeah,
did was I reached out to those Rotary clubs and said, "Hey, I'd love to come speak." And I thought, well, if I go do that, and they'll let me come, they're not going to pay me, but maybe I can it'll help me learn to publicly speak and
sure,
formulate sort of a speech. And so I call that your 20-minute speech. So you got a 20-minute speech. It's like a little Rotary Club or some little something. People need you done in about 20, 30 minutes.
okay,
And then you have a keynote speech, which is basically an hour speech. And so when you do a keynote, then you got to break that down. Really, way I break that down mentally is that's 3 20-minute speeches, three
Okay.
different, like, I want to talk about these 3 things today, and I spend 20 minutes on one, 20 minutes on one, 20 minutes. So that's a great way to learn to speak, to get out. What happened was I went out and I started doing that about my 10th or 15th Rotary Club. This lady in the audience worked for Edward Jones. She said, man, you need to come speak at our Edward Jones stuff. She got me hooked up with Edward Jones. I went and spoke at Edward Jones. Edward Jones, there was what they call a wholesaler, a guy that sold annuities to the Edward Jones people. He was in the audience. He's like, man, I'm going to take you to other Edward Jones clubs. And so for between 2009 and 2011, I probably did 100 speeches a year.
Wow.
To Edward Jones guy, being paid for by this wholesaler. And so that was a great run, and that saved my business.
Sure.
Because I wasn't doing any loans. There wasn't any mortgages being done. So they had some changes in the industry where the wholesalers couldn't pay for the speakers anymore. So I kind of lost that. So I haven't had it as good as since that time, but it saved me when I needed it the most.
Sure.
And so now people just see me on, I put out a lot of social media and stuff like that. And that's how I'm mostly getting a lot of my gigs right now, but I still have to spend a good bit of time asking people, hey, you got a conference coming up? You got a sales meeting coming up? Man, let me know. I'd love to come in and talk about X,
Yeah. And I love that you have distinguished it. It's a business. And I hear, friends of mine
100%.
that they've, I want to get into speaking. And I love that point of, okay, it's a business. It is a business. You need to think of it as a business. You need to have a plan. You need to think about how you're going to market it, how you're going to run the operations, how you're going to run your P&L. I mean, all the things, right? So I love that distinction. And as what we've said, it feels like, preaching to the choir, but we're saying the same thing over and over. You never know who's in the room. You never know who's in the room. You had an opportunity, you went and spoke. You had another opportunity, you went and spoke. 10th, 12th, 15th time. One person just happens to be in the room. It makes a connection, which makes a connection, which makes a connection, which gives you this incredible run for almost 3 years that saves your business. In the worst time in mortgage history, it saves your business. So I love that. Outside of the 4 books that you've written, because definitely want to encourage people to read those. Outside of the 4 books that you've written, what's a book that you would refer to or recommend that a business owner has and reads?
Who, Not How.
Yeah.
I don't know who wrote the book, but that was a game changer for me recently. Who, Not How.
I love that.
Because you think, well, I'm going to start a business, but I need $1 million, and of course you don't, you can bootstrap it, but there's somebody else out there. If they think you're knowledgeable enough and they think the business is legit enough, they'll introduce you or help you get going. So that's who you need. Who can help me? Not how am I going to do this, but who can help me? That's a great book. Last night I started back reading Tony Robbins' first book.
Okay.
And it's all about, getting real jiggy with the fact that you're in control of where you're headed and your destiny. It's the conversation you're having with yourself, which is the name of one of my books.
Yeah. I love that.
And then I think there was another book. Anyway, I can't.
No, it's okay. I will include those. I just looked up Stan Sullivan. I've got it on my bookshelf. But the Who Not How, that is a fantastic book. As a small business owner, we ask ourselves so often the question, how can I do this? And so rarely do we ask ourselves, who can help me do this? It is a game changer. It's such a big deal. And it allows you to scale. Peter Drucker says the bottlenecks are always at the top. The rate limiting step of growth within your organization is you. It's the leader. And so allowing yourself to grow your capacity by bringing on other people just allows your organization to grow. Or to add another business like you, Steve, add in a speaking business. I love.
Well, I just recently, about a year and a half, 2 years ago, my son and I, we were talking and I said, you know what, we're doing pretty good and we've learned how to market pretty good. There are got to be other businesses out there that could use our marketing expertise. Why don't we find businesses that we could invest in And we come in as a very minority owner, 10, 20, 30%. We're not going to do any of the work, but we're going to help them market, and we're going to introduce them to our referral network to see if they can't help them grow their business. And
I love
so
that.
since then, he ran into a guy that was starting a painting business. He's got involved with them, and their business is going great. And then I've met a friend of mine, re-met a friend of mine that's gotten into the HVAC business. He's been working in that industry for a while. So he and I are getting together. I'm going to get into the HVAC business.
I love that.
And then I got another guy that does what we call in our world hard money loans. He loans money to people that are flipping houses. And he's got a fantastic business, but he's like, I'm tapped out. I've lent out all my money. I need more money. And that's my problem is I know the guys that need the money. I don't know the guys that have the money. If you'll come in and help me expand that, I'll cut you in on the business.
Cool.
So I said, okay. So I'm working on that right now. So yeah, I mean, that's the way to do it.
I love this your lens in which you're viewing the world, right? It doesn't just have to be the mortgage business. You've got other opportunities and skill sets that you learn in one are transferable to another one. So I love that. So Beach, I appreciate your time, man. This has been great. Let me close on this question. So, question I always like to ask: what piece of advice do you wish you would have had 10, 15 years ago? What is something that's been kind of a game changer for you? That, man, I really wish I would have known this 10, 15, call it the crash, call it before the crash. What is a piece of advice you wish you would have had?
I tell this all the time. I had a bunch of agents right here in my office, older guys and gals like me, and we sat around a little round table, about 8 or 10 of us. And I said, what's the one thing now that we're 50 and 60 we wish we'd have known when we first got in the mortgage and the real estate business? And almost to a person, everybody said I should have never sold any houses that I bought. Every house I bought, I should have kept it and I should have rented it out. And I said, this one guy, I said, so how many houses have you had? He said, I've had at least 6. He said, I bought the first one for 100,000, the second one for 150. He said, all those would be paid off. I'd be generating like $30,000 a month in income. I wouldn't even care if I was sold any real estate. And so since that day, I've decided I'm not selling anything. I'm buying and holding.
I love that.
And people don't understand how easy that is to do, especially if you're young and single, because once you get married and you have kids, makes it a little bit tougher.
Sure.
But that's a great way to grow wealth. And yeah, so everybody's there should call me. I'll teach you.
Yeah, please. So we're definitely going to put your notes, your contact info in the show notes. So somebody's looking for a mortgage, somebody's looking for someone to speak at their conference or to keynote. How do they get in touch with you, Beach?
They just can, it's Beech, Beech at stevebeecham.com. And then I've got a website, stevebeecham.com. I've got a YouTube channel where a lot of video on there at YouTube at Steve Beecham. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. Started now doing TikTok.
Nice. Yeah, cool.
Dang, man, I had an old speech I put up, and that dang thing has gotten like 49,000 views.
Wow.
On Instagram and Facebook, and I'm like that. But that goes to show you, just because you get a lot of views doesn't necessarily turn into money.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's a great point. People are going to think, oh, I got 10,000 views on this video. It's going to rain whenever I walk in the room, and no, it's not. But if somebody, somebody's looking for real estate, somebody's looking to grow generational wealth, looking to invest, if they're on the younger side, definitely need to reach out to Beach. Well, brother, I appreciate your time very much. We will definitely be in touch. I'll hit you up next time in Alpharetta, and we're snag lunch. But Beach, I appreciate your time. Everybody, thank you for joining Market Mavericks. We'll see you soon. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Market Mavericks. We hope you're walking away inspired and ready to take your own adventure to the next level. Don't forget to follow the show to keep up with our latest episodes. And if you enjoyed today's conversation, make sure to subscribe, share it with others who could benefit. And hey, if you know a market maverick who has a story that needs to be heard, please drop their name in the comments. We would love to bring their insights to the show. Until next time, keep pushing boundaries and leading with purpose.